Welcome to the Immigrant Sales Voices podcast, where we bring you the inspiring stories of immigrants. I'm your host, Julia, and I'm glad to be here with you today. In this podcast, we aim to amplify the voices of immigrants in the United States who have succeeded in the field of tech sales. We believe that by sharing their journeys and insights, we can empower other immigrants who aspire to break into the tech sales industry. As someone who is personally very enthusiastic about the power of these stories, I cannot wait to hear insights from our guests and learn how they have excelled in this competitive field. Hey, Kiryl, nice to meet you.
Likewise.
Today we have a remarkable guest joining us, Kiryl Melnichenka. Kiryl is an American immigrant with an impressive sales career in well-known companies like Coursera and ZoomInfo. Kiryl, welcome to the Immigrant Sales Voices podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and I'm excited to hear your story.
Thank you. Oh yeah, I'm excited to be here. And I guess there's a lot of people who are going to be watching this podcast. I hope it's going to be valuable to you guys. And yeah, happy to answer any questions I guess that you might have. And we'll have some fun today.
Yeah, of course. Can you please provide some background about yourself? Where did you immigrate from? How did you start it in the sales industry?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So my name is Kiryl Melnichenka. I was born and raised in Eastern Europe, a country called Belarus. If you don't know it's a country, it's not a big deal. Like we have a lot of great talent, tech talent coming from the region, tech companies, but not the politics. The politics has the worst. And I guess that's what forced lots of great talented people leave the country. I did it in 2016. So it separated my life before the States and after the States, right? So 2016, I moved to the US, and I guess I started from the bottom, just like everyone. Like I didn't have a fancy degree. I didn't have experience. I mean, I worked in sales in the past when I was a student at a college. I had some internship, but when I came to the country, I didn't realize I didn't speak the language. Like we had some experience, but when you first enter the US, it was different. It was a challenge. Like I didn't have that much money in my pocket. I think it was just 500, 550, whatever. So I started my journey by selling ice cream in Florida and made all my way up to a company called Coursera. So big public company, kind of leader in a ad tech space. If you guys study courses, if you take online degrees, you might probably know Coursera, right? And yeah, after Coursera, I joined a company called ZoomInfo. So today I'm an account manager at ZoomInfo. Again, big public company. I guess I was lucky to mostly work at big public companies, right? We have a brand, we have a product. And yeah, so these days I'm an account manager helping our global customers to get the most from the platform. So work on upsells, retention, and yeah, in a nutshell, that's my sort of background. I love soccer. I mean, we call it football in Europe, but in America we call it soccer. So if you guys want to sell me anything, I guess you should do your homework. And if you talk about Arsenal, you have my attention. So, yeah, I travel a lot. Still kind of trying to figure out where I should settle. I would spend the most time in New York. This is my HQ, if you call it that way. But today I'm in Florida. I'm in Orlando. But I love Austin, Texas. So I'm kind of travel a lot. And yeah, my sales background, I guess I started early when I was 17. Today I'm 28. So it's been 11 years, right? Various sales experience, mostly in B2B tech software. When I first started, I was a junior SDR handling inbound and outbound motion at a company called Argyle based on Wall Street. So that was my sort of very first sales development experience. And then I joined Coursera, as I mentioned before, as an enterprise SDR, helping them to expand the corporate presence, mostly in North America. And so these days, after multiple promotions, I'm an account manager at ZoomInfo. So my goal is to close and retain at least 2.2 mil in annual revenue for the company. And if my experience will be valuable to anyone who is listening to this, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, guys.
Absolutely. Let's get back a little bit to the part where you said that your English wasn't that great when you moved to the US, and as we know, English is crucial for any sales role. So, how did you go about learning English, and did you face any challenges in becoming fluent?
Belarus is a post-Soviet Union country, and I don't know if you guys are familiar with the school system, but it's not like you want to learn it. It's like they force you to learn it. So it's not like they give you an option. It's like you have to learn English. You must learn English, right? There's a difference between should, must, and have, right? So I guess I was forced to learn English when I was a kid, which is not bad. I'm happy about this. So I should give a huge credit to my mom because she invested a lot of money in order for me to have the private tutor. So I had practice when I was a little kid, and also I was an exchange student. I was traveling, going to Warsaw, London, Wales, Cardiff. I was a part of a British Council program. So again, I had experience learning, I would say, British English, right? And when I entered the States in 2016, I remember the date. It was June 29. I remember the date, right? So when I entered the States, I was crying as a kid because people were talking to me. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, I just, it was hard. I would say I could understand, but it was hard to speak. And not because like the people were not welcoming. I guess it was just because my previous background and all of the pressures that I got since I was a little kid, where you have to be perfect. You have to deliver. It has to be right. You cannot make mistakes, right? So when you sort of bring this background to a free, open country called the United States of America, of course you have this sort of pressure on yourself. And it took me, I would say it took me about 7 years. And I'm still fighting with some challenges to sort of like overcome this and be where I'm today. For example, when it comes to cold calls, I was afraid to make cold calls, not because like it's not effective or because I'm lazy, or it's just because I'm scared. Like if I have a script, I can follow the script. You know what I'm saying? But if you ask me a question, I'm not ready for this. Like, so what I'm gonna say, right? So if you ask me like, hey, how did you learn the language? I'm still learning every single day. So it's not just it's a constant process of improvement. I guess my kids are gonna be more fluent than me, but I mean, this is my journey. I love every single day. I'm excited. My goal is not to learn the language. My goal is to better understand my customers and make a difference in their business. So I don't really worry about, hey, how should I say it or what should I say? It's more like, hey, how should I listen better and think how can I make a difference in their business? So that's my game plan at least.
Amazing. How did you approach your first sales job search in the US? Taking into consideration your situation back then and your English level. How did you approach that? And maybe you could share some process or strategies that you used back then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's a great question, and if you guys sort of trying to find a job in America, mostly corporate job, because the requirements pretty high these days, especially after the massive layoffs that we had, right?
Yeah.
I guess I can share a few tips that might help you to save a lot of time, money, and hustle. But money, I mean, like there's a lot of courses and boot camps, whatever that you can take and pay money for this. But like it helps, but if you don't do the necessary, like the most important stuff, like it's very hard to get a job. But I would say my very first corporate experience was a company called Argyle. I joined them as an SDR. I was the first one joining the team, and after me, they would start hiring more and more people. We got a manager, whatever. But I mean, I call it fake it till you make it. Honestly, like I didn't have that much experience. The ways I structure my resume, I call it CV, which is wrong. In America, you have to call it resume, I put my beautiful picture, like this is Kiryl, which is awful. Like you gotta follow a certain standard, right? But when I was applying, looking for a job, I didn't know what I was doing, honestly. I was just like, should I be a closer? But who's a closer? Like how it's called? Is it associates or it's account executive? Like I didn't know the difference back then. So I realized that if I want to start it early, it has to be an SDR role. Honestly, I didn't know what they do, but I knew it's sales, so I'm like, okay, whatever. And I think my very first round of the interviews, I think I sent at least 150 applications, mostly through LinkedIn. I didn't go through Indeed or Monster or any other platforms. I know some people do this, but I was relying on LinkedIn all the time. So basically, it was just like I'm pulling the list, uh, New York companies, because I was in New York back then, right? So who's hiring? And I was just applying. I think back then I had out of 150 applications, I think I had at least 20 calls, like screening calls with a interviewer, with a recruiter, right? Again, I didn't know the process. I didn't know how it's gonna be, right? And after 10, I think I had 5 or 6 in-person meetings with a hiring manager and the sales team. And as soon as I got my first offer, I just took it. Honestly, I didn't think that much because I didn't know like what's the comp structure. Honestly, I didn't care. It's a job. I'm happy to take it. I'm grateful for the opportunity. That was a big volume. I'll put it that way. Like I didn't know the market. I didn't know what software as a service means. Whatever. Argyle wasn't a tech company. In a way, it was sort of like agency that helps businesses to generate leads through webinars, through in-person events, right? So, but by working at this company, I had a lot of clients who work in a software space, and I realized they have a lot of money. Like they have crazy budgets to invest in event marketing, and I'm like, I gotta pay attention to this industry because it sounds like it's a lot of money. It's exciting, and uh, I feel like you can make a real difference in technology space. So I'm like, I gotta pay attention to this. And then I had a little career break, traveling the country. When I left Argyle, so I was sort of traveling, helping to organize business trips for my friends. So I was sort of trying to figure out what I wanted to do next. And then I went through Coursera hiring process. I think it took me at least 5 or 6 months to get a job at Coursera. And what interesting about this, like we started the conversation early. Like I think we started, I don't remember, it was like January, but I got an offer closer to September. And honestly, I didn't believe it's gonna happen because I didn't get a response from them, and I was interviewing at other companies. So interesting companies, but honestly, they give me an offer, I would just take it. I didn't care back then. But Coursera gave me a great offer. And back then, I didn't speak that much language. I was just sort of faking it. My goal was to sort of, okay, I got to jump on board, and I'll figure out how to sell, how to handle the objections, how to be a great salesperson, basically, right? And my biggest fear was a role play. I don't know if you're familiar with this process, but basically it's like they ask you to do like a home assignment where you have a case and you have to either write an email or you have to describe, hey, how you're gonna be targeting this ICP on LinkedIn. Like what's your thinking process? That's what I'm trying to understand. But I was scared as hell when it comes to role plays. Was he ask you, hey, can you sell me a pen? Can you sell me our product? Can you sell me the product at your previous company? Because they expect that you know the sales pitch and they ask you, hey, if you're an SDR, try to book a meeting with me. Let's do a role play. And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah, that was the hardest part. And I guess with Coursera, I got lucky because I got through 5 or 6 rounds of the interview. Crazy. It's been a lot. I met a lot of people. I think at least 10 people in a hiring process. And the very last round, I was interviewing by the head of marketing, and he asked me to do a role play. Like I felt like they already made the decisions and want me to join the team, but he wanted to do a role play. Basically, it was the last round, whatever, and I was scared as hell. Honestly, I didn't know the scenario. I didn't know what's gonna happen, and I guess lucky enough. So that day when I was having a Zoom interview, my service, or his service, I'm not sure. It was awful. It was bad. So basically, what happened? We decided to turn off our cameras just to sort of, you know, what I'm talking about. So I can still have a role play, but he doesn't know what's happening. Like he cannot see me, right? So, and what happened? We were having a role play, and basically, what I did, I was just reading text from the screen, which was awful, but it worked. It worked. So I got a job. And um, yeah, I was happy about this. ZoomInfo was much easier, to be honest, because I already have experience. And I mean, they asked me a good question, and they were sort of checking how honest I am when it comes to my sales background, because I had a career gap when I left Coursera during the pandemic. Crazy times for everyone, so I had a little career break. But they asked me this question, and I guess what they appreciated was my honesty, and yeah, these days I'm at ZoomInfo. I work here full time. I'm fully committed to ZoomInfo. I'm grateful for the opportunity, because if you think about it, these days, especially as an immigrant, it's extremely hard to sort of switch the roles from being just an SDR sourcing pipeline, which is great. Don't get me wrong; you can make crazy money by doing this, right? But for me, I always wanted to be a closer by having SDR/prospect and experience. Like it's mandatory if you want to be successful in sales. You have to know how to prospect, right? But for me, I just didn't see how I can make it at Argyle or Coursera, or at least it didn't happen. But ZoomInfo gave me this opportunity, I guess mostly because of my discipline and hard work and commitment. So I got promoted 3 times, and for the last 2 quarters, I'm an account manager at ZoomInfo. If you want to know the numbers, actually, prior to this call, I don't know if you want to know this, or the people who's going to be watching this, but I have my numbers, like my performance at ZoomInfo, like I guess why I got promoted, on top of my soft skills, on top of my like, hey, I was committed, I was persistent, I was a hardworking person. For the last 7 months, when I first started as a SMB account manager at ZoomInfo, my first 2 months, my first 2 ramp months, I closed 159K in upsells and renewals. Q1, which is January 2023, I closed 333K in upsells and renewals. And this quarter, Q2 2023, I closed 400K in upsells and renewals. So that's my performance for the last 7-8 months, with a goal of 2.2. Honestly, I don't know how I'm gonna hit it, but that's where I'm today.
Wow, this is so impressive. Could you please dig a bit deeper into your current role in ZoomInfo and tell us maybe about your day-to-day activities, responsibilities at work? Like what is the product that you're currently selling, and who are your customers?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a great question. So, long story short, ZoomInfo started as a best-in-class company and contact data. Basically, if you want to connect with someone in North America, either Kiryl or Julia or Tom or Helen, and we make decisions, is a buy or not to buy from you. Like we have data on these people, either email, work email, personal email, cell phone. We even show you the HQ number as well as direct dial, right? If you want to call the office number. So historically, ZoomInfo and Discover.org, they started with the data. And after the merge, so the company sort of dominated in the space for many years. And I guess I decided to acquire a few companies to expand the reach. And if you think about ZoomInfo today, we're not just a data company. We call it a go-to-market operation system. We help you on every single stage of your go-to-market motion. You need help with chat, we have chat. You need help with sales automation, we have a product called Engage. You want to analyze your calls and your interactions with the customers, we have a product called Chorus, which is great. I use it every single day. You want data, we have data. You want intent signals, we have intent signals. So if you think about ZoomInfo today, again, we're not just a data company. My goal is to serve my customers, have a certain territory. We have a certain number of renewals assigned to my name. So mostly I work on renewals. My goal is to show enough value to encourage the customers to stay with us, as well as growth. Growth is huge. So my goal is to sort of figure out, okay, where else we can add value. And you guys have 5 seats today, how we can make it 10. Or you guys have Chorus, why don't I have Engage? Let's bring your tech stack together. So my goal is to make sure that we align with our go-to-market strategy. We share our best practices, and I guess I'm extremely lucky and grateful for this opportunity, because every single day I have a chance to speak with different business owners, different sales and marketing leaders, various companies from various industries. It's not just software. We work with pretty much any single industries that you might think of. We can find a use case for you. The question is, hey, how you gonna execute? We have a process for this. We're happy to share our best practices. So my goal is to make sure that I'm staying on top of my customer relationships, and I show them how they can get the most ROI from ZoomInfo. That's what I do every day. And of course, on top of this, I make cold calls. That's where I got the most success for the last 2 years. I run sequences. I make proposals, and it's just lots of negotiations, right? I mean, you jump on a call with the customer, they're not happy because of something. You're always trying to figure out, like, what happened. Is it us, or there's another reason why they don't see value? So again, my goal is to listen and provide as much value as possible, I guess. Of course, they talk about numbers. For the last 8 months, I finally learned how to run the numbers, how to make proposals, how to make it easy to understand. And yeah, it's just a constant learning process. Like, even if I make a mistake today, we have a product called Chorus, as I mentioned before, where you sort of can go back to the conversation, sort of see, hey, what did I do wrong? What could I do better? So next time I sort of work on this specific aspect, and try to fix it, try to be better. 1% better every day. That's what we say at ZoomInfo.
Great. I'm really impressed by your achievements there, and you shared with us today your quota achievement, your the amount of revenue that you have generated. Maybe you have some other success stories that you're really proud of.
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, there's a lot of them, right? So it's sort of, I mean, it's hard to pick, okay? But if I have to choose one, I'm not calling the company, and I'm not calling like when exactly it happened, but I think it will be interesting for the audience, because I guess most of the people who's going to be watching this they're not native speakers. English is not their first language, right? And had a call with a customer when they were very unhappy, and they called me multiple times. They called me different words, right? Like, and they were challenging my accent, and basically, again, they were upset about the deal that they got, but they took it personal, even if the deal is not coming from me. Like, I was just sort of helping. Let's put it helping, okay? So the person was very mean, and it was just a lot of racist stuff that, I mean, whatever. I took it. Okay. But long story short, what's funny, and the reason I guess why I'm proud of myself in that particular moment, because I'm very I mean, I can be very emotional. Like if you challenge me, like I gotta challenge you back, right? But it's sales, and you have to stay on top of this, right? You have to be professional, right? So I was just calm, asking questions, helping with the next steps, whatever. The person said again, right? And they just hang up. So, but what happened 2 weeks after this, after multiple negotiations, uh, legal was involved, they signed. So I closed that deal. Um, and yeah, I mean, for me personally, it's never about like the volume or like how much money I can generate. It's all about the deal. Like I like easy deals, don't get me wrong. Like if I close 20, 30K in one day, I'm happy. But that deal took me almost 3 weeks. 3 week sales cycle. It wasn't a big deal, but it was just a tricky customer, very emotional. Called me different words. This guy, like when he was calling me and challenging my accent, like he doesn't understand like all the backgrounds that I brought with me. Like I mean, since I was a child, basically. So
Yeah.
it was hard, but I'm happy I was able to overcome this, and um I closed the deal, and I learned a lot from that lessons that you never take it personal. It's business. You keep it professional at all time, and again, always try to understand and listen, but at the same time, never let them to disrespect you or anything. Like when I jump on a call with a customer, even before this accident, right? I was always treated as a equal relationships, right? I do something for you, you guys do something for me. We call it a mutual action plan at ZoomInfo. It's one of our best practices where you don't just jump on a call for 20, 30 minutes, talk about life and weather, and hey, everything's fine. Goodbye. It has to be a next step. And you have to make them accountable. Like even if they don't make decisions, but at least they influence the decisions. They're playing different roles. They're champions or influencers, wherever. So you gotta make them accountable in order to have a sale. So
Have you experienced any, discrimination or bias in your sales career? Like do you have any other situations like that?
yeah, no, it's a good one. So I would say yes, but it's not their problem, it's my problem. It's the way I
Mm-hmm.
was seeing this. Because I had experience working with different managers in the past, and I was felt like, okay, my colleague who was born here, who went to a perfect school and they understand the jokes, they watch The Office. By the way, you guys gotta watch The Office.
Oh
It's
yeah,
hilarious show. I love it. I love it so bad. So you gotta watch The
same
Office.
here.
I love The Office. So but long story short is like, I mean, I would say it was my mental issue in a way versus like they were trying to make my life hard. It's just the expectations, when it comes to your numbers. Like, of course, you have to hear your number. And no matter what they tell you, hey, Kiryl, you're great, you're doing great. But I didn't care about the numbers that much. When I first started at Argyle and Coursera, I thought it's more about the missions, the cultures, the values, like basically everything that the company sells you. But, and in a way, true, like you have to fit, right? In their vision and their culture. But in sales, it's all about numbers. Even if you're a great person, everyone loves you, you gotta hit your number. And for me, when it comes to my KPIs, like I just wasn't disciplined, to be honest. Like when I first started at Coursera, I didn't make enough cold calls because I was scared as hell. I was running sequences through outreach, right? But I didn't get as many responses. And the only way for me to book meetings with some of the biggest companies in North America was through cold calls. I was calling executives who are buying software like Coursera that have millions of dollars, right? And the only way to connect with them was through the cold call, right? If you think about it, American culture, and it's great. I think everyone should use it if you're a manager or a
Mm-hmm.
leader. When before they actually criticize you, they tell you how great you are, and at least, I mean, they always start from this, right? Like they're going to say, hey, Julie, you're very smart, you're very talented, you're very disciplined, but, and this but, and what's it going to say after this? This is a point. Like, this is very important. So you got to listen to this. And honestly, I just heard, hey, how great I am. Everything's fine. And eventually it led to some challenges, right? Even if I hit my number, I mean, sometimes it just doesn't work. So you have to stay on top of your quarter. And yeah, I would say numbers and expectations are very important. If you guys look for a job, especially in sales, I mean, you got to ask for the OTE, right? And it's not necessarily you got to have this money in your pocket. You have to ask, hey, what's a quota attainment at this company? If you have less than 50% of the sales team hitting the quotas, there is something there, right? And in order for you to hit this goal, like, you're not going to have any work-life balance. You got to work the weekends, stay late. I mean, which is great for some people, but I mean, you gotta choose, right? So I wouldn't call. I mean, racism still exists. Like, it's still a thing, right? People just don't talk about this publicly. But from my experience, like, I never had experience where I was sort of challenged because of my accent or because of my background, because I'm coming from Belarus that has extremely complicated politics. Like, you still have people who are fighting for their freedom, but at the same time, there's a lot of people who kind of took it, whatever. Okay, let's. I mean, you know what's happening in the region, so it's complicated.
Accepted it.
It's complicated, yeah. And so for me, I was always like sort of hiding my background because I wasn't proud. But I realized this country, like the people who live in America, they're extremely welcoming. You just have to be a good person. And pay your taxes, right? And just think how you can contribute, to be honest. Like, they don't care. Like, this country was built by immigrants coming from different places. Of course, you have people who are still racist, and if they hear my accent or your accent, they're going to challenge you, they're going to ask uncomfortable questions. But if you think about it, hey, where are you from? Because they just want to know your story. It's interesting. Like, hey, are you from what? Alabama? Hey, are you from Paris? Like, it's exciting. It's interesting. Let's talk about this, right? So if you ask me, short answer, no, I didn't experience this. I believe some people had experience with racism where they didn't get a job because of the color or because of the accent, whatever. I guess I was lucky. So I didn't have a bad experience.
Did you encounter any other cultural differences? And do you think that your cultural background actually influenced your approach to sales? Maybe you brought some unique perspectives to the table. What do you think about it?
So I wouldn't call it a cultural background, because since I was a little kid in Belarus, I wouldn't call myself 100% Belarusian, because I used to travel a lot. I spent like 4 years in Italy when I was a child, and I traveled in Europe a lot. So it was different. And I was very independent, okay? And I wouldn't call it like I brought it because of my cultural background. I would say I would bring it because Kiryl, because of me, because of my background, right? I'm my own country, I'm my own religion. So discipline. I mean, it's hard to be disciplined all the time, but if I know, hey, I have to find a job and I have 3 months because I have to pay my bills, I'll find a job in a month, right? I have to make 100 calls a day for 3 months, 6 months, do it every single day. So I would say discipline, and I would say sometimes it helps, sometimes it doesn't, but I'm a very straightforward person. Sometimes even too straightforward when it comes to negotiations, and I'm just being myself. Some people call it rude. I know some people appreciate it. Honestly, I'm just trying to be honest. Like, if I know it's not going to work for you guys, I just got to tell you the truth. It's not going to work for you. This is a way to fix it. Do you want to fix it? We cannot fix it for you. You have to fix this. Like, we can give you a car, but you still have to drive a car. Some people, I mean, I'm not saying they're lying to you. I feel like they're not saying what's important, like what you should be aware of, right? And when it comes to me, to my style, I just try to be honest. I'm trying to be a good person. honest person. And again, I'm not going to be good for everyone. I'm not going to please everyone, but people trust me. They sign contracts virtually. I don't have to meet them in person and shake their hands, right? Big contracts. Sometimes, and I admit it, I'm being a little bit too much. I'm putting pressure on the customer, having a deadline, and you guys have to make decision before this date. Otherwise, and I can be persistent. Like, you start ghosting me, I gotta make calls, double tap, I'll send you a text. I had a sort of a boot camp for founders where I was supposed to have office visits at some top tech companies in Boston, Massachusetts, right? And one company was just ghosting me. Like, we sort of agree, hey, we gotta meet, they gotta give us an office tour, we gotta meet the executives, and they were just ghosting me. So what I did, I just showed up. I came to the office with my group. They thought everything is planned, it's organized, but it wasn't, right? So I just I went to the lobby. I'm like, guys, I have an appointment. And yeah, they realized there was no appointment. Nobody wants to take me, but I appreciate them a lot. They did an office tour. I spoke with executives. And that's how crazy I can be. I mean, for some people, it's normal because, let's say, when I meet someone, you just go meet them in person. But if you think about this remote sales life, that's the life that we live these days, right? People sort of, I'm not saying they're afraid, but they're sort of comfortable having calls, closing deals virtually, and they don't necessarily want to meet in person anymore. So I can do both. It's of course you are stressing and you don't know what to do, what to say, but I mean, I had a group. I was responsible for this group. I went all in, and luckily they didn't notice. It wasn't organized like this, but it was great. It was great.
Thank you, Kiryl. If you would have an opportunity to send yourself a message to the past when you were looking for your first tech sales job, what advice would you give yourself?
Funny enough, nobody told me this, but I would say pick a specific persona. We call it ideal customer profile. Let's say you want to sell to founders, Y Combinator, graduates, whatever. Or you want to sell to chief marketing officers, or you want to work with chief learning officers, or you want to work with a CTO, whatever you want to do, right? Pick persona, find a great company with a product market fit. If we're talking about tech, software sales, right? And just stick to this persona for years. For years, like 10, 20 years. You gotta sell to one persona. That's it. Don't change the market. Because if you think about the tech stack, I mean, it's extremely hard to start content as a companies, but if you look at MarTech, I think there's more than 10,000 products in just one category. Sales tech, I think the number is growing today. It's like, what, 11, 1,200 softwares that help salespeople, just salespeople. The hundreds of different software just for SDR, just one team, sales team,
Thousands.
right? Crazy. Yeah. I mean, you guys can play with this. You can just Google like MarTech map. And you're going to see in Google, like, you're going to see this picture, like, you can't even see the companies. They're just little dots on the map. And you're like, and I got to compete in this space. So I think the only way you can win over the competition is knowing your ideal customer profile better than they know themselves. If I sell to chief sales officers, vice president of sales, they're different from SDR manager, director, even if they're in sales, but the problems, the challenges are different. Just stick to this persona and don't change the market. You got to listen to their podcasts. You got to attend their conferences. You got to have interviews with them, right? I mean, you just got to think about your ideal customer profile. If you stick to one industry and if you're truly excited about this industry, the opportunities are just endless. Just pick one persona. There's always a company who sell to this persona, great company, and they're ready to pay crazy money for you to join their team and help them to grow. So stick to one persona, work on your soft skills. I was about to say sales, but I would say soft skills. Soft skills, they're very important. Hard skills, you can always learn how to use Salesforce, HubSpot, Outreach, ZoomInfo. It's not hard. What's hard is your soft skills. Like, work on your soft skills, use product like Chorus. Make sure you watch your call recordings. It helps a lot. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I guess you have your own perspective here.
Yeah, I would say that recruiters do pay attention to this stuff.
Yeah.
And if the candidate is not consistent with his or her industry, it can raise some questions in the recruiter's head. If you would stick with SaaS startups, it looks more consistent. It shows the recruiter that you understand what you're doing. You have a goal in your career and you're consistent with that. And it's very important. Thank you for asking me questions.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it was just interesting to hear your perspective, because I guess when it comes to recruiting, the first things that you got to pay attention is the success story and the work experience. And it's just my expectation. Like, let's say if I want to have a winning account executive joining my sales team, of course there was a ramp process. Like, you have to give them time to sort of figure out the market and talk track and how to run sequences, whatever. But you have some expectations from these people. Like, you expect them to go out, source their own pipeline.
Yeah.
Even if you have SDRs, like, you want them to go out, you want them to know the market. You don't want them to join your company and, hey, you know what? Today we're selling to chief marketing officer. You got to find 5 top 10, 20 conferences in your area. You have to attend them, have to listen to the podcast. Like, you're just not going to change the person. If the entire lives that we're talking to chief financial officer, very different persona, very different. So it's a huge gap. And I think what's truly important besides soft skills is your commitment to a certain ICP. I think that's where you can make a real difference at any company, honestly, not just software company, but pretty much any company in B2B.
Yeah. Thank you, Kiryl. You've shared so many working strategies and tips. What resources do you usually find helpful? Maybe you use something for when you still were looking for a job, or something that you use daily for your career development. Maybe you can recommend some organizations or communities.
So when it comes to my my sales training and how I work on my soft skills, I mean, we have a product called Chorus, right? So if you guys don't have Chorus, just make sure you have a chance to record your calls, either sales calls or interviews. Like, at least you have a chance to sort of, like, I gotta be watching this podcast. We're gonna post it on YouTube. Like, I gotta be watching this many times, because next time I gotta do it better. So it's like, when you have a recording, like, you can play with this, and I guess this is the best training, because you can't fake it. Like, you can read as many articles as you want, and I did the same. Like, there was a great resource called Closer.io, where I mean, you can read a lot about the sales tech market. There was a hiring company called Bats Recruiting. They always post a lot of great content when it comes to salaries and just the tech market in general, specifically for go-to-market teams. Of course, talking to your peers and following the right people on LinkedIn helps me a lot. I would say these days LinkedIn is my only learning platform. I just scroll my feed, and I enjoy most, and I enjoy Instagram or Facebook, or I only live on LinkedIn and YouTube. They're my top 2 platforms. Of course, YouTube is huge. Like, you have a question, you don't know how to set up a dashboard in Salesforce, you want to automate HubSpot, connect it with ZoomInfo. You need to find it. You need to ask the right questions. People are being crazy about ChatGPT, and don't get me wrong, I think it's great, but it's all about asking the right questions. You don't ask the right question, they're not gonna give you a good answer, right? So I would say my only advice that I would give, I mean, we live in a world where information is available to everyone. Sometimes it's free, sometimes it's not. You have to pay for information. Like I didn't know the difference between resume and CV when I was first applying for jobs, and I bought a course where I sort of learns this stuff, and I knew, okay, don't do this or do this. Like it just helped me a lot, and I didn't even know this. If you create your resume in a certain format, the ATS system might not read it, so you won't even have an interview in the first place because you just did it wrong. Don't do it wrong. You guys have to invest time and money and think about the ROI. You pay someone $100, $200, $300, $500 for the hour. It will help you to get a job where you're going to be making 6, sometimes even 7 figures. Like, what the hell? Like, don't be cheap. Like, if you have to invest money, pay for people experience. And I would say my biggest advice, just ask the right questions. Learn how to ask questions. Not only in person, like you meet someone, you ask them a question, but also if you guys Google something, right? Ask good questions. You ask a good specific question, Google will give you an answer. For example, you don't have to ask a company, hey, how much you gonna pay me? Because usually they discuss this stuff on the very last stage of a process. You can go to a platform. Help me to remember, what platform was this? It was RepVue. Yeah. RepVue.
Basically, it's like a Glassdoor, but specifically for salespeople.
Sales. Yeah, I love it because on top of salaries, you can also read what people are saying about the company, like if they're able to achieve their goal, what's their tech stack. Like you join a company that don't have ZoomInfo. How you gonna hit your number? Your goal is to source and close $1 million in annual revenue, annual recurring revenue for the company. How you gonna do this without ZoomInfo? Okay, you don't have ZoomInfo, you buy Apollo, but then you eventually have to upgrade to ZoomInfo, right? But how you gonna achieve your goal if you don't have a proper tech stack? You know what I'm talking about? So there's a lot behind the salaries, the compensation in general. So I think what's important is just to do your homework. Again, talk to people who have experience. Julie is a great example, right? And just be proactive. Be proactive. Don't send a resume and expect someone will respond to this. If you guys in sales, think as a salesperson. Show them that if you can sell yourself, if you're persistent, if you're disciplined. I think at Coursera I was competing with 100 other candidates. 100 candidates. Like they never tell you the exact number, but it's like that was a lot of competition. So make a call, send a follow-up email, go figure out who's a decision maker. Is it an SDR manager or it's a VP of sales? Or actually it's a founder, because founder is going to be the very last stage of the hiring process. And the founder sort of has some sales background and he wants to have some great salespeople in his sales team. Go talk to the founder. Oh, yeah. People don't do this. It scares as hell. Hey, I just got to follow the process. I hope they're going to call me. They're not going to call you. You have to call them. So I think by showing that you're willing to put the work, and just by being creative, like honestly, I was creative since day one, because I didn't know how to do this, and I knew like there was a lot of competition out there, and if I just gotta follow the same process that everyone follows, I'm not gonna succeed. So you always have to do something extra, something that people don't expect from you, but they will definitely appreciate. If you had an interview, send a follow-up email, send a Loom video, tell them how great it was. Send them a short 2 minutes video how you gotta sell their product. They don't ask you for this. Just do it. Just do it. Like you gotta differentiate yourself from hundreds of other candidates. And when it comes to in-person interview, again, be prepared. Come on time. Ask them questions. Listen. Don't rush. If you need to breathe, breathe. I'm still working on this, okay? I can get excited sometimes. But show them that you're not only like, hey, I want this job. It's like, show them how you can make a difference. Of course, everyone knows you need money, but show them how you can make a difference at a company. Show them how you see as this company long-term. Like, you're not going to quit in 6 months. One of the most popular questions that I was asked all the time, hey, Kiryl, you don't hit your numbers this month. What would you do? I would stay late. I'll figure out what's not working. I'll make more dials. I'll put more prospects in my sequence. Again, I'll make more calls. If I have to follow up on a DocuSign, I'll follow up on a DocuSign. I'll just, in sales, you can control what you can control. You cannot control the weather, the politics. Some people can. I cannot, unfortunately, okay? Some people, I cannot control inflation. Yeah, inflation is high. But you guys not going to be out of business, don't you, right? Like, you have to survive. You have to grow. Let's create a plan, a game plan, how we got to recover from this and move you from just being a decent company who's struggling to being a great company. We're crushing it. People want to work here. Like, let's have a game plan. Okay. So I think just by being proactive and not only thinking of yourself, like what you can get from the company, but also showing them, hey, well, I can really add value. I think it will help you along the way. Great question.
I did really, really like your advice on, going there on LinkedIn or somewhere else and reaching out to these decision makers, because that way you're actually showcasing your SDR skills, right? You're not just writing about it on your resume. You're going out, you're prospecting, you're reaching out, you're follow-upping, and you're just showcasing your skills to the recruiter and hiring manager. And this is a great advice, and it will help candidates who utilize these strategies to really stand out from all these other hundreds of candidates applying to the same role. You know so much, and your advice is so great. Did you have any mentors or role models?
When it comes to my professional life, of course, there are some people that I follow, and you know the names. Right? If I want to learn how to cold call, I gotta follow Josh Brown, right? But I would first recommend to join ZoomInfo. Like, we'll teach you how to make cold calls, okay? And then if you wanna be number one, like, of course, you gotta follow people like Josh. But I would say I have different influencers who are focusing on specific aspect of the entire sales process. Like, some people are great at cold calling, some people are great at sequencing, some people are great just at discovery, and that's what they're good at. Of course, they can close a deal, but they're sort of masters in running the perfect discovery calls in a software space. So I follow different people when I need them, right? I have some mentors, and I have people who influence me, and I need to follow them. But honestly, I'm 28, and I realize that I'm a role model myself. Like, I have a lot of people are reaching out to me. Yeah, and I don't brag about this. I don't want to, like, I'm great. I'm not great. I'm making mistakes every day. But if you guys want to learn from me, if you see it's valuable, it can help you, I'm happy to share. But I'm cool myself. Like, I don't need anyone to sort of, like, to influence me. I have family. I'm very lucky to have a great family. My mom made a huge difference in my life. She'd been supporting me since day one. She didn't have options. So I would say my mom, she is my number one person. And these days, I would say my girlfriend, she inspired me a lot. She helped me a lot during the pandemic. I had a very tough time. If you ask me for a role model, I'm a role model myself. I don't need to follow any politician, any sales leader. Of course, I have a lot of respect for founders. Like, if you think about the Henry, the CEO at ZoomInfo, like, I have so much respect for him. Like, if you ask me for a role model in professional industry, I would say it's Henry, how he started the company, and how he helps us every day. He can jump on a call with a customer like he did it many times, and even being CEO of a huge public company, like, he's still doing this. So he leads by example, basically, and I have a lot of respect for this. Also, CEO at Coursera. It was just different type of sale because he was mostly dealing with the presidents. was high-level executives, right? Because the CEO has to sell to other CEO, right? But he was just leading by example as well, and it was a great learning curve. I didn't have like a mentor or sort of like a boot camp. And of course, there was a lot of people who were helping me along the way, but it wasn't free. It was like I had to pay for this. So it's like, I mean, they do something for me, I do something for them. So it's not like the life wasn't easy. And I remember the Conor McGregor fight, Madison Square Garden in New York when he won 2 belts. They asked them, hey, what was your role model or who you grateful for? Where he is like, I want to apologize to absolutely nobody. Like he's his own role model, and of course he has people he respects and he follows. But I'm honestly, I don't need anyone to help me to wake up every day, do what I'm good at, make a difference in this world. Like I don't need this North Star when it comes to people. Like I don't need this North Star. Um, I'm my own North Star, and my goal is just to be a little bit better than I was yesterday. Work on my mistakes and focus on what I'm good at.
I didn't expect it to be like that, but I really like your answer. But if you would like to send us the list of influencers on LinkedIn or on YouTube who you actually appreciate, I would happily add this to the description.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's funny? I think we follow the same people because sometimes when I follow someone on LinkedIn and I see you liking, you're very active on LinkedIn and it's amazing. And when I see you liking the posts or you leave a comment, I'm like, we're on the same page. And I mean, we're both coming from post-Soviet Union countries, and sometimes I feel like I wish more people like us will follow the right people who are not bragging, who are showing, who are putting the work, the hard work, who share their experience, their best practices, but they don't brag about it, right? How great I am, right? If you're great at selling, but you're not a good person in general, like I won't follow you. So I look at soft skills as well. Like for me, it's important to share the same values and make sure that we're on the same page. And I mean, I'm happy to learn from you. I mean, how you close deals, whatever. But if you're not a good person, I'm not going to listen to your advice when it comes to life and personal relationships or whatever. I just gotta follow my own path and make my own mistakes. But that's me. That's just my perspective.
Thank you. So, in closing, what advice would you give to other immigrants who are currently searching for sales positions in the US?
So honestly, guys, it doesn't matter where you're coming from. You could be from India, from France, from Belarus, from Ukraine, right? From Pakistan, from Morocco. There's a lot of great and talented people who came to this country and they're very successful. There's no like a certain percentage, like, hey, if you made it here, you gotta be successful. You have to put the work, right? But I think you have a huge advantage because of your background. Plus, you learn from this market, you learn from these people. So you gotta bring good stuff from your culture. You gotta bring it to this market. That's how you make a difference, right? But I would say just listen to yourself and don't follow everyone. Like if you see there's a lot of great tech talent coming from India and everyone's tried to be this software engineer, but you hate code, you want to be in sales, just be in sales. Like I met a lot of great Indians who are great at selling. They live in Canada or here in the States. Like it's not popular, it's not common because of the language barrier. And we think that Americans are great at sales, and they are. But sometimes they forget to follow up. Sometimes they're lazy to send a follow-up videos. They just don't do this. And we can make a difference. Like just be a good person, be yourself. If you want to be in sales, be in sales. Like don't settle for less. Don't be selfish. If you think, hey, I have to close deals since day one, sometimes it's just not going to happen. Even if you were a closer working in insurance industry or real estate, when you enter software as a service market, you need to stay humble for years. If you have to book meetings for years, just book meetings for years. Be patient. Find the right company. Do your best. Ask for promotion. They're going to help you to move forward. But if you don't ask for this, it might take time. So if you want to sort of speed up the process, ask. Just ask. It's not bad. Just ask, okay? And again, if you want to be in sales, surround yourself with the people who support you. Like, don't talk to your friends who's like, you know what? No, you should write code, or you should, I don't know, do UX, UI, whatever. Like, if you want to be in sales, just be in sales. Like, surround yourself with the like-minded people who support you along the way, will make your life easier. And yeah, honestly, just follow what works for you. Like, don't listen to people like me or Julia or anyone else who will give you advice and you feel like this advice doesn't work for you. It's fine. It works for me. It works for Julia. It might work for you, but I'm not sure. So question everything. Figure out your own best practices and just follow it. And you will have a lot of success. Again, stay committed, stay disciplined. This is basic. And just believe in yourself. Like, believe you're going to make it. It's not just me. There's a lot of great immigrants coming from very complicated countries. And we made it. Like, of course, there are some people that are more successful than me, but I'm not competing with them. I'm competing with myself yesterday. Right? Like, show your commitment. Don't talk about it, just show it. And I would say the last one, be patient. Because I saw there was a lot of people, they tried to speed up the process. I think they were in SDR for 3-6 months, and oh my God, I gotta crush it. I was in SDR for 3 years. 3 years. It's a lot, considering my career break, but it helped me to actually master my discovery, my discovery skills, and I know how to do prospect, and I know how to run sequences. I know how to use various tech stack. I know how to make a cold call. Finally, I learned. It took me years to do this, but I did it. And yeah, it just helped me. But I was patient. Of course, I was like, Kiryl, you're 26, but you're still an SDR. It's not okay. Like, people 28, 29, closer to your age, they're already head of sales, VP of sales in some countries, right? In America, it takes time for you to grow. It comes with experience. You can't fake it. You just have to put the work, but it will help you a lot along the way. So eventually when you become 30, 35, and you can truly call yourself a great head of sales, VP of sales, because you failed multiple times, but you learn from these mistakes, and now you have more experience, you have more best practices. Just be patient. Like, I wasn't born a great leader. Like, you become a great leader. And I'm still a not leader. Like, I'm not a manager. Like, if you look at my background, I didn't manage teams in America. So I can't really speak as a leader, right? I know how to source deals, I know how to close deals, I know how to retain that account, but I guess my next step, it might be, oh, I might stay in the closing role, but I might become a manager, and then director, and then VP of sales, and then VP of sales, chief revenue officer. So it was a career path. And just enjoy the process. Like, if you have to take some time off, take some time off, enjoy the process. Because if you think about it, money is great, but you need to be happy. If you're not happy, either in your personal life or, I mean, I don't know what's happening in your world, but you need to fix it first, and then you start your day, you make a call, you close the deal, and then you go celebrate. So that would be my advice.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Kiryl. It was very motivational and inspirational. Thank you so much. I wish you to achieve your career goals. And I would like to invite you next time when you'll be in a management role, and to discuss how everything changed for you. And so I would like to attach the links to Kiryl's social media profiles. And I'm really grateful for your time today. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable advice and your experiences. I had a lot of fun today. And thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a great time, and thank you for asking me great questions. I'm excited because I was the first speaker on your podcast.
Yeah.
And I guess we raise a certain level that people have to follow. So
yes.
I'm excited to be the first one.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you, Kiryl. It was amazing to talk to you. I wish you a great end of the day.
You too. Take care. Bye.